Yes, I see you. I do see you, and the little ones too.
Sydney and Henry were driving down to a campsite when they came across all these pups along the beach. Where did they come from? And what were they doing out here?
Oh, come here. Oh my goodness, dude. She has ticks all over her.
The pups were in rough shape. They were out here all alone, and they were so thirsty and hungry. So, Sydney and Henry set up camp and made sure these guys got some grub.
She's sweet like
Mango. Let's call her Mango.
We do have company for tonight. Oh, wow.
But food and water weren't all these dogs needed. Because Sydney soon realized that 2 of these pups needed extra help.
I made friends with this mama, who I think personally is pregnant.
These poor mamas had puppies on the way.
Oh, your belly's so huge.
They were so relieved to find Sydney and Henry. They were like, my puppies are coming soon. Can you help me, please? And Sydney and Henry were like, duh, we got you, mamas. Rather than just stay one night, Sydney and Henry stayed for several days, making sure these pups got all the food, water, and care they needed.
But she's too sweet.
But quickly they noticed no other campers were showing up to the campground. Who was going to take care of them when they left, especially the 2 mamas-to-be? What if no other visitors showed up? That's when Sydney and Henry knew that their camping trip had turned into a rescue mission.
Yeah, I'm taking you, yeah.
Sydney and Henry called local animal rescue organizations and came up with a plan to get all these dogs into a safe shelter where each pup could be comfortable and each mama could have their babies.
They all right here. Oh.
So they loaded up their van with every single beach pup and took off.
Am I on a dirt road right now with the pocket door locked and closed because I got a van full of dogs? Yes, I am.
Once they arrived at the rescue shelter, these pups were so happy to finally have a roof over their heads.
Hi, welcome, sweetie.
Especially the mamas.
How you doing, Mama?
Because they finally had a safe place to have their babies.
The baby's coming soon, maybe?
And that night, it was a puppy party. Both mamas were able to have 2 healthy litters of 20 puppies total. Wow, that's a lot of puppies.
Good job.
Oh, look at them. They are so cute.
See your babies.
Every dog that Sydney and Henry rescued was able to find a loving forever home. But Sydney and Henry were going to miss these guys. They'd been through so much together. So rather than end their story there, Sydney and Henry were like, what if we reunited all the beach pups and their puppies? And so they did. And they were so happy to see their pups again.
Was it nice seeing your babies?
Before Sydney and Henry, these pups were all alone without a forever family. But thanks to their heroes, they've all got homes filled with love and care, and a little less sand between their paws. Molly was a stray dog living outside on an empty lot. She didn't have a family or a safe, warm place to sleep. Luckily, someone in the neighborhood saw that Molly needed help. A rescuer named Ryan. Ryan wanted to give Molly a safe home, out of the cold and snow. Easy, right? Not exactly. Molly had lived alone for so long, she didn't remember how to trust people. If Ryan was gonna get Molly off that lot, she needed a plan. Step 1, show Molly she was a friend. She started visiting Molly and bringing her food, every day, for weeks. At first, Molly was nervous around Ryan. She was probably thinking, who is this person? And why do they keep giving me stuff? Then again, she's giving me food, so maybe this is good. It took months, but Ryan's plan started to work.
Hello, sweet girl. Hello.
Molly began to really trust Ryan. She even let Ryan pet her. This was a huge step. Next, Ryan had to convince Molly to leave the lot with her. Well, that's what she thought, until something amazing happened. Molly followed Ryan home, which was really huge. Soon, Molly was visiting Ryan's house every day. And eventually, she stopped going back to the lot and stayed. They were one step closer to getting Molly safely indoors. However, as much as Molly loved Ryan's front yard, she was still nervous about going inside. She'd probably never been in a house before. Ryan knew she needed to be patient. Trying to force Molly inside before she was ready might scare her away forever. So they started small, by getting Molly inside of the backyard fence. It's not inside, but it's progress. And in the fenced backyard, Molly would be safe from passing cars. Molly didn't miss the empty lot. She was starting to enjoy the backyard life. In fact, she loved it. And the door, or window, to Ryan's home was always open, just in case she changed her mind. But Molly was still nervous about the inside. There could be anything in there. Outside was her comfort zone, where she let Ryan give her belly rubs, the ultimate sign of trust. Ryan tried to give Molly a taste of the indoor life by getting her a doggy bed. It didn't work out like she planned. I guess that's one way to use a bed. Just when it seemed like Molly was content to be a backyard dog for life, it started getting hot outside. There was a heat wave. Then, on the hottest day of the year, Molly started to wonder, what was the weather like inside? Molly decided it was time to explore. It was definitely different, but inside was cool and dry. Not hot or wet like outside could be. And best of all, inside had friends. Ryan's dogs. Molly had never had puppy pals before. They were instant besties. Molly realized inside wasn't scary. It was actually pretty amazing. At last, Molly was an inside dog. Now, she's so happy with her new family. And she's so grateful to Ryan, who never gave up on her. Thanks to her caring and patience, Molly went from being alone on a cold, empty lot to being surrounded by warmth and love. Welcome home, Molly. Like and subscribe for more.